Friends, this is the best bonanza for UPSC aspirants who want to crack UPSC, particularly PT. This series focuses on those aspirants who are facing difficulties in addressing the first hurdle of UPSC known as PT. Many of the aspirants who are good enough to clear second part and finally even interviews. But then a lot majority face a lot of problems in the first part, and decidedly sensing and assessing those problems, we have decided to focus particularly to help them out so that they can crack easily the part 1, means PT. And we have started series of marathon mission to crack this PT, and in the previous series we had discussed related to this. Now this is the second part of the series with the title ISPT Marathon Mission to Crack PT 2022 with unbeatable strategies, so that every one of you who really wants to go for the exams of PT can smoothly crack this, and that turn out to be a cakewalk. So welcome to all of you under the banner of AGS IAS Academy, and then we are now covering about this introductory part of this strategy. The question is then, who is selected in UPSC as a whole? We would start with the introductory part. Have you ever thought the nature of the final selection? Have you ever thought the nature of the selection of men's? And before that, the hurdles which are coming before you. Yes, this is what the strategy is with, and what features UPSC exactly look into the candidates. How UPSC tries to assess the potential of the candidates at the first hurdle, which many of you are or could be oblivious about the fact. Actually, the nuances that come on the way. How nuances? What are the nuances? Nuances indicate here, say for example, a student faced prepared a lot about different parts of UPSC, sensing the trend which was pervasive for long years and years. Then what happens in the next stage when they are going to appear for the test in real time? They find the reversal of the trend what they used to and they've been following for years. The result, a big fiasco. This where our role is very significant to address this issue which none of you should face. So dear friends, what are the changing trends and UPSC that talk about, and why changing trends many of the candidates are not able to cope with? Let's find the answer. Those who followed for years about the preparation of PT, they could not make it a smooth walk. Reason could be as such, like the candidate in that sense followed all practical means, but then it was the candidate's perception, it was your perception, but the perception of UPSC, or what UPSC is looking into. We have to see this exam from UPSC's point of view, not only our point of view. The binoculars should be set exactly every bit and piece of the syllabus, and beyond that you cannot afford to simply confine on this as stipulated syllabus of UPSC, because many questions come beyond that, and even the questions which creep over from those areas are not as crystal as likely to or likely seem to be for you, which you can catch, because UPSC is known for surprises, and it never reveals before the candidate as to how it's going to unfold the storyline in the coming exams. And as we came across, 21st exam of PT was a benchmark we set for every one of us, exactly how not to get misled by the previous year's preparations along the trend which we all of us you followed. But UPSC wants to check whether you are sleeping mode or you are in awakening mode, to be so alert, your preparation is so high in alert, so that from all accounts. If the questions of different nature are being bestowed, you are able to handle. Then what is the main important role you need to look into here is, besides major areas, say for example of the paper of UPSC, politics, history, geography, economics are considered to be the major areas of this. But you all know the nature of the question, which the trend was different, they reversed the trend. Not only this, even some questions they asked from CA, means current affairs, they made it wrapped in different layers so that you cannot directly hit the bull's eye straightforwardly. And to get into this strategy and crack it, you have to first, means all aspirants for 22 need to have a thorough study of NCERT right from 6 to 12, barring few exceptions of 11th 12th, in some cases of maybe you can see science portions or somewhere we are not being asked directly. But then the trend says mostly about many questions and queries, or the mentality or the pattern of the question when they ask, consider the following question. They tend to also assess your psychology of the preparation from the background of not only from other areas but also NCERT first. So keep NCERT revising and revising. One. Secondly, you need not to have this assumption that we can heavily rely only on those areas. If we clear major areas of the subject or the paper, then we can really crack it. And if we clear this, if you correct our options, say for example 50 or like 60, we will be able to clear, maybe or may not be, and you might be following in the trap already being set. What is needed to do and to be done is, you all have to follow, beside these four strategies of papers, like CA you have to go for that, you have to go for other paper in other areas, like say for example a special focus on climate, a special focus on biospheres, a special focus on sustainable developments, a special focus on protocols, a special focus on different treaties nationally, internationally, and the rectifying agencies or connected agencies which basically issue, say for example hunger index globally. This year you came across which country is lying behind, or which country claims to be very rich but actually the major population of that country falls not able to provide or address the issue of hunger. Many countries of the world, this is one of the examples. So they have different strategies. They may ask like from different areas, but they can ask in a wrapped form. So what you have to do then, you have to be alert to go into the layers of the questions. Already you are very much about the fact, you are aware they are not asking that questions. What they're asking, they will say, let's have one or two examples. They will say, consider the following statements. What happens? This is a very vague kind of statement. What will happen? They might give you all four options correct. You will see here all four options are correct. What to do? Completely confused. No, don't know what to do. What UPSC is really looking into about the candidate. You will feel like this, but UPSC I know has on tricks. UPSC is asking you which best out of four correct options you need to strike upon. Means you have to also brush up your memories. You also need to depend on multiple revisions so that you don't forget. You need to have exact striking rate on those four options rather than beating about the bush. Let's have an example about the consider the following statements. This is taken from the previous year's questions I'm going to discuss. Option number one, the United Nations Convention Against Corruption, UNCAC, or UNCAC has a protocol against the smuggling of migrants by land, sea, and air. They're asking you, consider this. This is one of the statements. Let's have second statement. The UNCAC is the ever first legally binding global anti-corruption instrument. They are giving you second statement about this, and then they're giving you the third statement, a highlight of the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime in bracket UNTOC is the inclusion of a specific chapter aimed at returning aspects to their rightful owners from whom they had been taken illicitly. And the final option they give you, the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, UNODC, is mandated by its member states to assist in the implementation of both UNCAC and UNTOC. Now, what is going to be asked? Which of the statements given above are correct? Now, they gave you four statements, and you all are knowing already the four statements, maybe even 4 out of 4 correct. Already you are confused. Now they're testing your real potential by giving option A. They are telling 1 and 3 is correct, B 2, 3 and 4 is correct only, and C they are telling 2 and 4 correct only, and D they are telling 1, 2, 3 and 4 correct all. So complete confused, you're befuddling with this, then what will be the answer? Answer will be, you are knowing almost the answer in one other form, but your memory is not supporting at this moment. What is the solution of this? It's asking you to revise and revising your strategy, which can be really helpful to not to miss what you have studied, and that's only possible when you practice your logic and analysis along with your reasoning or revision. So the next strategy for the preparation will be in this marathon of this UPSC PT is study, revise, revise, apply your mind logically, logic, logic, analysis, analytical capabilities need to be adopted, and then finally revision, revision, and multiple revisions. Let's have another question based on this series to address your problems. Consider the following statements. Of statement number 1, it talks about, as per recent amendment to the Indian Forest Act 1927, forest dwellers have the right to fell the bamboos grown on forest areas. This was the statement number 1. Statement number 2, as per the scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers, Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006, bamboo is a minor forest produce. And statement number 3, the scheduled tribes and other traditional forest dwellers in bracket Recognition of Forest Rights Act 2006 allows ownership of minor forest produce to forest dwellers. Now what they're asking? They're asking you which of the statements given above is or are correct. What it indicates. Many of you have prepared, even gone through schedules of the Constitution. But when you came across this question, you did not find the suitable answer which you had already studied. What they asked the question from. These statements were not taken from general preparations of schedules from here and there. It is emphasizing you. If you want to clear, if you want to find the answer, you have to select right sources. Right sources means authentic, justified sources which can really based on the parameters of UPSC, not simply studying and preparing for the sake of preparations will not really help you. Dear friends, in this connection, if you go the next part of this, For the selection of UPSC process, eh, what further strategy UPSC is looking into is you need to have a balanced study, and that requires deep knowledge about different aspects. Besides, you need to be also aware of the general facts from here and there in day-to-day life, practicalities, what happens in practical day-to-day activities. At the same time, you need to go beyond what is being looked or what is being seen on the surface. You have to dig out the layers of the surface, beneath the surface as well. And have you ever thought what is the reflection of PT questions UPSC has been asking for? So, as a gist, you have also to find out exactly what could be the reflection and how best that reflection should look like. It indicates what have you studied. You need to develop, you need to have logical faculties, you need to have analytical faculties. Not only your answers should be based on revision and multiple revisions, you also have to have the capabilities to decipher what is and what are the nuances which you are able to connect the dots. UPSC is now playing with your mind to check whether you are able to connect the dots, whether in a given situation of four options all are correct. Then a bureaucrat, when being posted, then in real time, whether the logic behind is whether the bureaucrat is able to take the decisive decision on the spot when things turn out to be mess and very much ridiculous. In that sense, whether you are able to churn out what is right and what is wrong and can really solidify your decisions. Does UPSC have the role of general preparation to crack the exams? Do you think UPSC requires smart preparation with smart strategy? Let me tell you, as I discussed in the previous video of it, like UPSC basically is not the platform for anybody who has knowledge or who feels that he or she can have tremendous knowledge and can turn out to be he or herself an encyclopedia and based on that can crack these exams is completely mistaken. That is not possible. Then what is the possibility of cracking this is you need to be completely going with smart strategy. What actually is the demand, what UPSC is asking for. Also, you need to be alert away from the established trend. You have to be prepared yourself to meet the surprises which UPSC is going to open for you all of a sudden without giving any information or even without you knowing exactly next year what is in the box, and you are thinking it will just a cakewalk, but you fell in the trap, and then like that you lost one attempt and one entire year. What we want that you need to clear this. You don't need to face those kind of stigmas and then jeopardization of your preparation, but as a solution you need to have a thorough strategy right now from onwards and study thoroughly every paper, every subject of UPSC focus on. Suppose you studied all and you studied one particular paper, you forgot to study and you studied all. Then what happened? You saw in the paper they asked you 45 questions from one subject. What will happen? You will fail. You will simply completely fall flat, and this that will really create a big, you can say, imbalance indication, or that will create a kind of psychological trauma. To address that, the focus of the selection process of UPSC is to select a balanced and decisive candidates and a smart candidate, and preparation of all the papers of UPSC is the need of the hour, cannot really afford to overlook anything. So to conclude, you need to have thoroughly and thorough study of the entire preparations in such a way so that you can really work hard on that. I'm talking about GS paper 1. This was being really discussed about GS paper 1. Let's slightly look into GS paper 2. Here I have seen cutoff many students marks about like, and the reflection is found many of you really did do well in GS paper 1 and scored even 126, 125, 116 in GS paper 1. But then in GS paper 2 it was found the score was hardly 66. The score was hardly 45. The score was hardly less than 66. Hardly it was, say for example, 55 or even 64, 63. Just like slightly got missed what he or she was likely to clear this. What it teaches us, what gives a lesson. We learned the lesson under GS paper 2. First of all, let's have the complete assessment of the entire CSAT that is absolutely needed. Before even you think to appear for UPSC, you need to go through, assess, find out exactly the nature of the question of GS paper 1 as well as GS paper 2. You simply cannot alter, cannot sacrifice one paper over other papers, because that could be very risky and attempt, the significance of that limited attempts. So what you have to do is, let's start from first hand assessment of the entire two papers, those who are particularly freshers for this or first timer. And secondly, identify your strength and weaknesses of the question papers. So friends, so what we are seeing in TV, we are discussing about this particular for GS paper 2 and CSAT. This CSAT for those potential candidates who are really brilliant, even like good enough to crack anything, sometimes really find missing and not able to clear. Why? That's a big question, able to understand and appreciate. In spite of the fact in spite of the fact that the candidate is really able to know, has knowledge and know a lot of things, but could not clear paper 2 means CSAT. What went wrong? What really led to this kind of fiascos? Why made it failure? We are trying to find the answer of this and all these queries and all these tips, so that coming aspirants for exams, those who are likely to give exams this 2022, they should not face any problem. And for this, let's have point number 1. If you really want to crack this and score paper 2 CSAT, the first thing you all have to do is you have complete thorough assessment of the entire paper 1. Secondly, you need to check your vocabularies, you need to check your analytical speed, analytical assessment and logical faculties of your personality. You have to assess yourself whether you are able to select and churn out in given confusing choices. Passages. Many of you really fear about passages. It sometimes run into 25 to 30, and also trend sometimes they ask one question only from one passage, means 30 questions only from 30 passages, and then follows a lot of other things. Then what all you have to do is you have to check even before you really want to go for UPSC. You feel whether what's your potential it is. Once you decided you have to go for UPSC PT exams, UPSC as a whole, once you decided that I have to crack it, not only you have to then immediately think that you have to crack GS paper 1, you have to take GS paper 2 very seriously, cannot be taken for granted. And second part of this is what I would suggest you, make a habit of adding some vocabularies related to your passages. Firstly, you need to have enough understanding about it. Next part of this strategy is you can go through at least 10 years previous years questions of passages which you can look into and what actually these passages reflect, and so that you can handle in the right perspective is very essential. And next further addition of this of strategy is you have to take a look and find the reflection of those 10 years questions of passages, what they ask and how they ask, plus those terminologies can be repeated time and again so that you can find very much convenient in coming exams. And next strategy to handle this is you need to develop logical mindset to handle logical questions of this besides passages. Also, you have to take a look about the position, how if you pick up, like say for example couple of passages, you go through properly each and every line and then start practicing. After practicing, next strategy is you do entire passage and get it corrected, whether with the reference to the key of this question's answer, or can get referred or can get the answer from your seniors, or who can really guide you about the nuances of the passages where that can really remove your confusions. And next is identify your strength and weaknesses of the question paper first. By seeing entire questions, when you get the first hand question, what you all have to do is you take a look of the entire question, go from left to right, go from starting to end, and see what are the areas where you feel completely comfortable, and you start from the stronger parts of the questions. You don't feel depressed in the first look, you don't feel that you don't know what will happen, and so you go for the strong areas, start from there, and then you come to reverse gear. See then, like what are the second part of the strategy of the areas where you are second best in those areas. When you strike in the second best areas, then start doing this, start clicking this, start circling the answer by going through questions. Then third strategy should be where the third areas where you feel comfortable, come to that, take a look, and then start assessing and then circling the answer accordingly. On the top of that, you have to then assess about the mathematical parts, logical parts, mathematical, and those mathematical parts, if you come across these days, they're asking the questions, something which you cannot really calculate within the short span of time. The biggest problem for GS paper 2 CSAT is most of you face tremendous problems and run short of time, even though might be many questions you might be knowing or might not be knowing, but lack of strategy of the time management also leads fiasco, and many of the students not able to circle the answer which they had done actually in the right perspective is really something they missed, and they that missing question, missing answer really became a nightmare. Then what is the strategy again for this? You all have to focus on those mathematical reasoning part in advance. Your preparation should be where you can handle those with the mental striking rate without using your pencil or pen on the paper and going for calculations. You calculate what are the areas where you can buy without using pen. Really handle those areas which are essential from the mind perspective, because mental calculation of the reasoning is very essential. You should know, you should develop a strategy on the basis of which mathematical part, because that also covers a lot to clear these exams. That mathematical part should be handled in such a way where without your using pen, application of pen, you are able to address many of the questions of that on your own in the mind, and then you go for circling the answer, circling the question, because that's very, very important. Once you don't adopt that strategy, what the problem you will face, even though you might be knowing many answers of those mathematical parts, but will not be able to really circle the right circle. The point is, you will be facing the problem of time management, and then time factor could be a big factor. So management of the time plus habit and adaptation and practices of mental mathematical listening is very, very essential what you have to do. Dear friends, so this is your all this what we talk about this particular part of the series part 2, which if you follow, I'm pretty sure it will turn out to be a win-win situation for all of you who are going to crack this PT exams in coming though 2022, and this is very essential. So finally, if this video enlightened you, do like, subscribe and share with your friends and near and dears so that they too can get advantages for the same. Thanks for watching the video.